so you don't hear Rory.
Leanne, could you also spotlight her, maybe?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Great.
Lovely, Karin. That was so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with us.
Very welcome.
And your Fazioli, well, you above all, but your Fazioli sounds amazing.
No, the Fazioli plays itself.
Awesome. Okay, well, welcome to everybody. I am going to officially call this meeting to order. I think that was Thanksgiving by George Winston, for
Yeah.
people that missed Karen's introduction. Um, Welcome to all of you guys, old members, new members. Lovely to see you here. Let's see. Let's start off with our October meeting minutes. Does anybody have any correction to the minutes?
I don't have any corrections, so I'll just move that we accept the meetings as presented.
Okay, Kathy moves that we accept the minutes. Anybody second?
I'll second.
Oh,
That
sorry.
would be me.
I don't know, Katie seconds, all in favor?
I
Okay. Awesome. And then it looks to me like we have a whole bunch of new members or people that I don't recognize. So if you are a new member, can you please unmute and introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about yourself. We would love to meet you and know about you.
not only do we have the national president here, but we have the state president here.
Oh, yes, we have a few special guests. Hello.
Colleen,
Hello, it's great to be able to join you today. Colleen Hunter,
Awesome. Welcome, Colleen.
thank you.
Yeah, any new members, pipe up, please. We'd love to hear from you. Jason.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Jason. I'm delighted to be joining SMTA. I pretty much grew up here in Seattle. I have been able to participate in SMTA as a student a lot, and it's really awesome to be able to join as a teacher now. So really excited to get to know you all.
And what's well, it's awesome that you're here. Welcome. What's your instrument and what area of Seattle do you teach in?
Yeah, so I teach out of a home studio in Wallingford, and I teach piano. But my background is primarily in classical piano, but I also do teach improvisation with electronics, and I also teach at Lakeside School for music.
Very cool. Well, welcome, Jason. It's great to have you here.
Yeah, happy to be here.
Somebody else want to say something?
Hi, this is Zaru, and then I'm just recently joining the SMTA, and then I actually recently just moved to Seattle. And I am a member of the East Side Music Teacher Association as well, and now I'm trying to explore options in the Seattle downtown as well.
Very cool, Zaru. It's great to meet you. Are you piano as well?
Yes, I'm piano as well.
And do you teach out of a home or?
Now I teach, mainly at Chopin Academy of Music.
Definitely. Very cool. It's great to meet you.
You.
Anybody else? Oh, Ethan?
Hey, everyone. Yeah, I'm Ethan Chung. I've been in Seattle now for a little more than 10 years. I'm not a teacher per se. I am a piano player and I'm a supporter. And a part of the reason I joined here is I work on the intersection of music and technology on the side. Very interested in seeing how we can use technology to improve the experience and of students and teachers. So very interested in meeting folks here and just learning more about what you do and how how we can better use technology in your lives.
Very cool. Welcome, Ethan. I think you should probably get in touch with our past president, Ryan, who is our tech person.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, very cool. Anybody else? Well, if you didn't get a chance to introduce yourself now and you would like to, just, send a message and very cool. Okay, let's move on to some meeting business and I can hardly contain it. So I have some amazing, wonderful news for you all. And that is that we have been chosen as a 2025 MTNA Local Association of the Year. Yeah. Which is super cool. So I will be, sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that means that Colleen nominated us. Thank you, Colleen.
Exactly. Thank
Oh my God.
And may I add that because you were selected as state chapter of the year, I connected with Harriet, who is the chair, and she sent me the application that Ryan, your past president, had filled out. And I had not realized how thorough those questions were and how much information, thorough and articulate information, Ryan spelled out for your chapter that I succinctly put into 600 words. and like minus like 598 words, saying almost everything that Ryan had done, which spells out everything you all are doing in the most delightful, wonderful, most exciting way. And I have heard from several people who were on that vote that it went very, very well. So congratulations to all of you for your what you do and what you do for WSMTA, for your community, and of course for MTNA.
Yes, all of that. Thank you, Ryan. Thank you to our board. Thank you to all of our membership. I said it a million times before, and I'll say it a million more times, but you guys are awesome, and our chapter owes its success, local success, state success, and now national success, like due in no small part to every single person here and people that are not here. So I have to thank all of you guys. This is a huge honor.
Josie,
Yes.
May I, Stephen Hessla, our division director, might pop in, but he sent you a message. May I read that letter?
Oh, please do. Yes.
Greetings, Josie. Congratulations to the Seattle Music Teachers Association on being selected as the MTNA Local Association of the Year for 2025. Please share my hearty congratulations with your members. You were a clear choice for this honor. As Northwest Division Director, I'm proud of your many accomplishments and your dedication to make so many great things happen in Seattle. I'll look forward to seeing many of you in Minneapolis when the award is presented to your chapter. Sincerely, Stephen Hessla, Northwest Division Director.
Very cool. Thank you for that, Colleen. And if I'm forgetting anybody that I need to thank, please pipe up and let me know, because there's all these awesome, wonderful people.
Well, I know Peter, as national president, is thrilled. So you can chime in right now, just in your role as Seattle chapter member.
Well, I can talk a little bit about what it means. There is only one chapter of the year, and they are nominated by a state president. And so we had, as some of you know, I'm on the board of the national board. And so we had a meeting about 2 weeks ago, and all the different state presidents had nominated a different chapter. And we voted, and so we had to read all the nominations in advance, and then we voted on them. And I was leading the meeting, so I did not vote. But even without me voting, because of course I would have voted for Seattle because it's the best chapter ever, even without me voting, we got over 50% of the vote the first time. And usually what happens is that, you know, there's 30% and 20, and we take the top three and then vote amongst them. But Seattle was just the clear winner right on the first vote. And so I think it's because we have such a wonderful chapter and we do so many amazing things, and I am thrilled and honored to be a part of Seattle Music Teachers Association. So you all have to come to Washington DC. Why am I saying that? You all have to come to Minneapolis in the middle of March to watch Josie accept the award on behalf of all of us.
Yes.
Which will happen at the general meeting, as I believe, Peter, that is.
Some of them happen at the general meeting, and which is on, I think it's on a Tuesday, and some of them happen at the awards breakfast, which is on Wednesday. And I should know this, but I don't remember which ones happen when. So it'll either be at the annual general meeting or at the awards brunch on Wednesday. Either way, you'll want to be there.
And then looking ahead to our state June conference in Longview, Washington, we'll make a big deal about it as well.
Great.
Very cool. Thank you.
Congratulations.
So much. Thank you, Colleen, and thank you for being here. It's an honor. Awesome. Well, I don't know what else we can talk about. No, I'm just kidding. Do any of you have any business or any announcements that you would like to make today? Jason.
Hi, everybody. I'm just going to give a quick announcement about MAP. I will be holding an informational session by Zoom on December 5th is a Thursday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And to answer any questions that any teachers may have about MAP registration or preparing students. And that information will be forwarded to you by probably, I have not sent it out yet, but the chapter MAP chairs will forward that information to you. The details about the Zoom call, and it's also on our WSMTA's website already. So any new teachers who are not familiar with the music artistry program and would like to learn more about it are welcome to join the call, and let's hope we could get more teachers participating this year.
Definitely. Thank you, Jason. And on behalf of me, Colleen Kennedy, who's here, and Michelle, we are your MAP co-chairs. So also please come to us with any questions. MAP is amazing. There's going to be more information in the staccato notes about registration, so please look for that. Peter.
I'm just asking, we have a survey. MTNA is doing a national survey. We do that about every 5 years. And you should have gotten an email in your email box asking you to fill out the survey. And I would say, please go and fill out the survey, as many of you as possibly can, if you haven't done it already, because the more people that fill it out, the more it's like a snapshot of the musical teaching profession in 2024, and it's the more people that fill it out, the more accurate and focused the snapshot is. It's a really interesting, some of the questions that it doesn't take too long, and it's just it will be so interesting to see what comes out of it. I'm not going to post the link in the chat because each one of you gets a separate link, so if everybody uses my link, then it will seem like I have done it 50 times, which of course I would like to do, but it's probably best that I don't. So if you could all fill in the survey, if you haven't done it already, please do that. And that includes you, Nancy, because you'll have gotten it in DC.
I did it. I've already sent it in.
Yes, for sure. And I just did it, and it didn't take me very long, maybe 10, 15 minutes. So it's important. Data is important. Anybody else? Oh, yes, Ryan.
I just wanted to say thank you to everybody that participated in the latest online recital. It went swimmingly. It was a lot of fun. I should have the recording edited and out later today, or at least out to Leanne for our YouTube. But the next one is February 2nd, and it will also be fun. So please put it on your radar, and I will be bothering you much more often as we get closer to the date. That's all. Thank you, everyone.
Yes, thanks. Those are so fun. And it's even more fun that you can just watch them from your couch. Actually, speaking of February 2nd, this is a plug for the Jazz Rags and Blues Festival, which is actually happening on the same day.
Oh, rats, is it really?
It is.
Oh. We'll deal with that.
Yeah, we will. But anyway, we have a Jazz Rags and Blues Festival that is going to happen, I guess, on February 2nd, which you'll see. If you have any students that are playing any kind of jazz or ragtime or anything like that, I highly, highly encourage you to teach your students how to improvise. Maybe you could take a standard and, they'll play over it. And it's always super fun. And this is our 3rd year doing it, I believe. So I'm looking to have a lot of participation. So let me know if you have any questions about that as well. Anybody else have an announcement? Jessica.
Good morning, everyone. I am part of the social committee with Sophia, and we have a few events coming up. So tomorrow, Sophia is hosting our very first dinner series, which is a totally free event. She's hosting it at her home, which is located near Green Lake. So it's tomorrow at 5:30. And because these are smaller intimate events, we do limit the capacity, and I believe we're pretty near capacity. So if you either want to get on the wait list, or if you want to find out if somebody drops out at the last minute, please contact Sophia or myself. This is the flyer that has been sent out in our staccato notes. So if you want to see the details there, just look for them in the staccato notes for October.
Jessica, do you have a digital copy of that you can put in the chat, maybe?
Oh, I do. Yes.
That would be awesome. Continue.
Okay, and then our next event is the SMTA holiday party. This is one of our most popular events. It is Saturday, December 7th at 5:00 p.m. It is at Jeff Pettyjohn's home, which is in Bothell. So you will see this flyer also floating around in our next staccato notes, but we'll start sending this out pretty soon because that's actually in a few weeks. So there's lots of music making, and it's also catered as well, but people are welcome to bring things like potluck style if you like, but it's not mandatory. So once again, our big holiday party is Saturday, December 7th at 5:00 p.m. And then also in December, we have the Pathway of Lights at Green Lake. So this is a 40-year tradition where volunteers, there's 1,500 luminary bags and also 3 music stages along the way. We want to make sure you dress for the weather, but that is Saturday, December 14th from 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. We're actually going to meet at Sophia's home, which is located in walking distance from Green Lake. And I just Googled a few pictures and it looks super, super fun. So again, this is a free event, but we're hoping to go to dinner afterwards. So I hope I see you at one of our next outings.
Thank you so much, Jessica. All of the outings are super fun, and you guys work so hard to just have a wide variety of events, and we really appreciate it. Peter.
What should we bring tomorrow?
So tomorrow, you're not expected to bring anything. It's also it's a free event, and so you just show up and bring a good time, I guess.
Yay! Thank you.
Great. Anybody else have anything they would like to say? I'm trying to look at all the hands.
Hello, Stephen Hessler in Missoula. I would love to say congratulations to Seattle. You heard it all from Peter, I'm sure, and from Colleen. But this
Hello.
So I'm the Northwest Division Director here, and you probably know that. I know several of you, Ryan and Katie and Josie and others. Yeah, there. I see many. Okay, so it was great. What a great meeting we had. Was it just Monday, Peter? Or a week ago Monday now?
It feels like about 10 years ago, but
I know.
Monday.
I know, but it was just so great. You know, I can tell you guys that I read all the nominations and they're alphabetical by state, right? So you finally get to Seattle at the very end of reading all of these, and there was just something that popped, and apparently it popped for a lot of people. And I don't even remember if you got elected and honored and everything on the first vote or the second, because we kind of take the top 2 or 3 and then discuss or whatever. But it seemed like everybody felt that, and that reflects what you guys are doing. Are all 150 of you at every meeting, though? I would think maybe not. But it's great. Do you always do hybrid as well as in person? I don't know. Are some people together in person?
We do our nicer month meetings in person, and then our colder month meetings online.
Oh, okay. Who's speaking now?
That's me, Josie. Hello.
Oh, hi, Josie. Did we meet at the summit? No, not maybe, because you're Seattle, not necessarily.
We met at the national conference.
At Atlanta.
Mm-hmm.
Probably at our Northwest dinner with the toothpick contest. So somebody else is going to set up our Northwest Division dinner, which is Sunday night. Those of you that get to go to to Minneapolis to receive this award and this honor, which is only one, right? Only one local association in the entire country gets honored, which is just amazing. And so if several of you get to go, then save Sunday night and we all gather and have a dinner with all the Northwest states. And Josie, you would know, and many, maybe you've already gone through all this, that several of you got to be aware that Wyoming is, the Northwest Division is shining this year. Peter's our president, and Wyoming became the state affiliate of the year. So they're all, I told them if they started walking in December, they'd get to Minneapolis by March. It's only 850 miles. But they're going to carpool, a bunch of them, I know, and hang out. And then, again, we'll all get together Sunday night. And then they receive their award. Is the local association award on Monday, Peter, or Tuesday during the annual meeting? I think.
You know, this is the second time someone said it. I'm afraid I'm put on the spot, but I don't actually know. It's either Tuesday or Wednesday morning. Josie,
Yeah, I don't know which, but
your letter?
I can pull it up.
yeah, maybe you need to know, because if you all leave, everybody leaves Wednesday morning at 7 a.m. to catch their flights back to the West Coast, right? Because we're all on that. Can't get there if you start at 3 p.m. So anyway, I think it's
It
one.
says Tuesday, March 18,
Great.
at the meeting of the annual business meeting. Tuesday,
Okay.
March 18, 1 p.m.
Oh, that's perfect, because like
Great.
Steve
Is
said,
that Katie? That Kathy? Did you just speak? No.
That was Colleen Hunter.
Oh, Colleen. Yeah, so that's great. So that, in fact, there are usually more people at the annual meeting than at the awards brunch, in the sense that everybody's on the plane getting their complimentary cookie and glass of water on the plane. Anyway, I just want to tell you guys, I don't think, if you have any questions, you can ask Peter, and if he doesn't know, he'll ask Colleen, and she'll know. And anyway, isn't it great? I mean, what a thing. It's just,
Thank you so much, and thank you for being here. It's an honor.
well, it's my honor, actually. I'm going out to defrost a freezer in the garage. So I had a choice between sitting comfortably indoors with you guys or going out and suffering. So I think I'm going to disappear and let you guys finish up your meeting. But all of you whom I already know, can I say something about Seattle? This is years ago information, because I am MTNA history. And years ago, I was adjudicating, let's say it was 1981. Some of you weren't even born, probably most of you. And it's no big deal, but it was just interesting, because there was quite a different look at how teachers' associations developed and kept themselves prim and proper or whatever. And so I know this firsthand, because I stayed with a wonderful family when I was adjudicating what used to be called the auditions, right? And so here I am adjudicating, and I ate my first ever and last ever probably raw oyster from the husband of Jane Halver, who went out shucking or whatever they do for oysters. And he brought one back, and he said, just, pretend it's cooked and don't even taste it and enjoy it. So I did that. But anyway, in the meantime, Jane had told me that the Seattle music teachers were limited to 100 members. It was such an honor to be a member of Seattle that they had decided. You can go back through minutes from the 1980s or whatever and probably prove me wrong, and please let me know. But she said, we have 100. And you have to apply, and you have to show some credential or sincerity or determination or something. And maybe it was to keep it, maybe the church they met in or whatever, or wherever, only had a capacity of 100. Anyway, isn't that interesting? Clearly you guys changed, because I think I read that up to 150 are members, right? That's fabulous. I see Kathy's piano in the background there, Kathy Mortensen. So you're not quite immediate past, you are immediate past president, are you? Well, then congratulations to you, because everything matters, and you guys, MTNA matters. I decide every time we have a conference. Peter just gave great sessions, almost off the cuff, because we didn't give him much notice, but he can do it with 10 days notice or 100 days notice. It doesn't matter. He has a wealth of knowledge. And so he was at our conference, and so was Colleen. And we get together, and I just think, what better use of time than to be together learning and supporting each other, especially enjoying each other. And you guys, I'm told, have the best social plan of every place in the country, which is probably why your nomination popped. Tomorrow we're going for pizza, and then we're going, the roller skating rink is, I don't know if you've tried that yet, skateboard down Pike Place Market or something like that. But anyway, congrats. I don't know if anyone has anything to say. If they do, if it's good, say it to me. If it's bad, say it to Peter or Colleen. And I'm just happy to tune in on what you are obviously doing in the background, but I won't hang out because the freezer is defrosting as we speak. Okay, is that good? Can I wave goodbye?
Yes, or see you soon.
Yeah, we'll see you in Minneapolis, many of you.
Before you go, I think part of this is a tribute to your eloquence that the Northwest Division has done so incredibly well with the nominations, because each person from the different divisions speaks up in favor of the nominee from their division. And so because of you, Wyoming got such great traction.
Well, you know, guys,
Because
I
of
had
Colleen's wonderful nomination, Washington State and Seattle got such great traction, and also because of the fabulous presidents of Washington State and because of the fabulous presidents of Seattle, like currently Josie and Katie and Ryan and Rosemary and Kathy, and I'm looking around at all the people who have had such great ideas over the last few years that has made this chapter so incredibly vibrant. I think we're probably the only chapter who has had a planned outing to a burlesque show, and I'm very, very proud of that. Anyway, I don't want to take up any more of the meeting time, but just congratulations to everybody. And thank you, Steve, and thank you, Colleen, for being here. And now I turn it back to you, Josie.
Well, just let me say, follow up on that, what Peter just said. It was a privilege to be at now 5 of the 6 conferences since last June when I came to Washington and Wyoming. Had I not been at those places, I don't think I would have known what I knew to encourage. And that isn't to say that poor Teresa, I mean poor because she's teaching. I'm retired, so I can pretend I'm free to go. But she's the director-elect, and she may not make it to every conference. And I will go to Alaska next summer, cash in my Alaska airline miles. But the point of it all is that Ryan Warshak, wherever, I'm probably saying it wrong, right? But Ryan wrote this great narrative for a year ago, for when you guys became the Washington chapter of the year. And so then Colleen had to boil that down to 600 words, and Colleen and I yak a whole bunch. And I think through our conversation, she had a feel for just how it can be fun to read and not just factual. And so maybe that's why it popped, but it's not just because it popped. It popped because of what you're doing. So again, congratulations. I look forward to seeing many and getting to know many of you. And I'm glad you have more than 100 members now. Goodbye. I have to figure out how to leave. It says leave down here, so you will see me disappear. Then you will see me no more for a while. Goodbye, all.
Goodbye. Thank you again. Right on. That was wonderful. Let's see. It is just past 10 o'clock. If we don't have any more announcements, do we have any more announcements? If we don't, I would like to invite Nancy O'Neill Breth. Am I saying that right?
You are.
Okay, thank you. Hello, welcome to our chapter. We're so happy you're here to talk to us today.
Thank you so much. It's even more of an honor than I expected. I just heard about your award, and congratulations to everybody. But you should know that I was already honored, not only because Peter invited me to come, but also because you're Seattle. You see, I grew up in the other city, and when you grow up in Spokane, you know, all you ever want to do is go and visit Seattle. And because you know that all the cool people live there, and that's really the place to be. So I just, when Peter asked me, I had this funny little moment when I forgot that it would be remote. And I said, oh, I'm going to Seattle. It's like a dream come true. So one day I'll get back to see you again. And meanwhile, it's nice to be here with you this way. The topic today is practicing. Everybody loves to hate it and hates to love it. And so we're always talking about it and hoping to get better at it ourselves and along with our children as well. I was looking the other day at this old book that I wrote a long time ago about practicing. And I happened to open it kind of by mistake. I guess I was looking at the table of contents and I saw the dedication. And the dedication says, "To the memory of my mother, who frequently told me that she loved listening to my practicing." So imagine that. I remember one time when I was practicing in the dining room and she was making dinner in the kitchen next to the dining room, and the door flapped open and she came out and she said, "Oh, Nancy, that sounds so beautiful." And since I was a brat and probably 13 or whatever, I said, "Mom, that's just scales." And you know what she said? Instead of "you rotten kid," she said, "You know, I love even your scales. They sound beautiful to me." So I thought, wow, that was an amazing way to grow up, wasn't it? I guess I probably didn't realize how special it was. And it also kind of made me sort of add a little topic to the talk today, because one of the things we really need to be aware of is parents' role in practicing. And I think, you know, to grow up with that kind of love of music and special feeling for the child who's doing it is a really special thing. And, you know, we should really ask more parents to just simply say something like that to their children. It would make a really big difference, I think, in their lives. So that's one thing. So speaking to you, knowing that I was going to speak to you, it also took me back and made me remember how many insane years I've been thinking about this topic, as I'm sure you are, pretty regularly. You know, I started this project of writing about practicing in 1989, okay? I'm not going to ask you to raise your hand if you were alive then. Yeah, that's your own business, but hopefully many of you were not. And so I'll tell you that I decided I would ask my students, what kind of advice would you give to your friends about practicing? And there was a magazine in those days called Piano Explorer. And my students and I worked for a couple months on this, and I sort of edited it, and eventually it got published. This is October 1990, believe it or not. I had a student who did the cartoons for it, and the kids basically wrote it. And I haven't looked at that material for I don't know how many years. And I'll tell you something, when I read it yesterday, I really couldn't believe it. I thought, you know, I just thought those were average kids and whatever, but you know what? They wrote amazing things about practicing. And I was so impressed that I got out the original and I sent it to Leanne and asked her, would she please include it in the package eventually, because I want you all to see it. But I'm going to tell you a few things that came out of it. There were funny things and sad things and practical things, but one of my favorite is Natasha, who was 9 years old at the time. And she wrote, try to do your practicing right after school, because if you wait until the evening, then your parents are home and they watch you. Of course, when you need help, then you say, Mom, Dad, I need help. But most of the times I'd rather do it by myself, because otherwise we end up arguing. And I tell them that, but if they think I really need help, they give it even if I don't want it. So that was Natasha, and I think that's another commentary on the kind of relations that we can have with our parents when we are children practicing. You know, if you think about it, parents are the ones who get us into it ordinarily. When we're 3 or 4 or 5 years old, we don't say, Mom, I need to play the piano. So they get us into it, and then they become, over time, either, I guess, the policeman, which certainly has to happen, or the cheerleader. So again, it's something to think about, that the parents can really make a huge amount of difference. I'm going to show you briefly, when we go to the slides, a couple of samples of practice schedules, which I also really highly recommend. I started doing that some years ago, and maybe many of you do too, because first of all, the kids love it. You ask them to make a 1-week picture of their lives, and then we present these at our group piano class, and they love it. You know, each person stands up and goes, I get up at 7:15. I brush my teeth, etc. You know, it's like you think, oh no. And everybody else in the room is going like this, but when it's their turn, they're excited and they get up and they show it also. So the whole point obviously is, and you enlist the parents' help in this, is you set a time to practice. You set a time for every activity, and then you do your best to keep to it. I mean, everybody knows that you don't always keep to it, but not having a schedule is just basically saying, oh, never mind. It just doesn't work. So anyway, I talked to these students. They did the wonderful job. And I thought to myself, these are lots of good ideas. Why don't I write them down? I wanted to write them down for other people, but also for myself. You know what? I was sick and tired of saying the same thing every day to X number of students and then the same thing the next week. And I thought, whoa, if I write this down and give them their own tools, maybe I won't have to repeat this every time I turn around. So it ended up with a couple of these practice guides and that book that I showed you earlier. And we'll talk more about that as the time goes on. I want to say that the practice guides are really pretty much about technique in a way, because they are, there's a lot of mechanical ideas in there. And I found something else in this writing of my kids in 1989. Greta, who I remember was 16 at the time, wrote, "Sometimes I get real tired. A few times I even fell asleep when I was practicing. When I do get tired, it's because I'm practicing something over and over again. It just gets me so bored. So I find something different to do or switch to another piece." So that very issue is kind of what inspired me to do this various work, because the fact is, you cannot build a great technique or a great repertoire without an enormous amount of repetition. But my feeling is you don't have to die of boredom doing it. And so the idea was to create and to reproduce from friends and colleagues and students ideas about repetition that can be fun, that can be more interesting than just simply like this 20 times. Sometimes, do you ever have parents say, how many times should Henry repeat that? And I go, I don't know, until he gets sick of it, until he gets good at it. I don't know. I know it's really great when teachers go, do this 10 times, do this 7 times. I never know. So instead, I tried to make some stuff that would make them happier when they're doing the repetition. So each one of my students owns one of these practice guides. I give specific assignments in it. Or if somebody isn't really twigging and not really paying that much attention to it, I sometimes will say, listen, why don't you send me a list of the tips that you use on that Chopin this week? I'd love to know how you're doing it. And there is also a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel that has some videos, and that resonates with some kids who don't really want to read a lot because they can watch it and they're short and they were kind of fun to do. So, but before we practice, we map. We do a map of the piece, and that's where I want to try to share my screen and bring up with you a couple of slides and kind of talk about that a little bit. So this is the practice schedule that I mentioned, and there's a kind of funny story about these. Before computers, they used to make really beautiful pieces of art. That doesn't really happen anymore, but these are a couple of samples of it. The one on the right is from an 8-year-old child, and I mean, if you bothered to read the details on that, you just wouldn't believe it. I know we're always complaining about the kids having so many things to do. Anyway, that child was 8 years old. She was a transfer student. She already played quite well. She came to work with me, and after the first encounter, the second lesson was kind of mediocre, and the third lesson was too. And so after a while, because we had already made these schedules, what I do is if I see something sliding, I ask the parent, let's talk about this. And I ask the student, how's your practice schedule going? And it usually goes, well, and then you hear the story. Anyway, once I saw what this child was doing, I said to the mom, this is an amazing schedule for an 8-year-old. And your daughter is so gifted. And I noticed that, she also plays several instruments and blah, 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 does all this kind of stuff. Do you think maybe it would be a good idea to cut back a little bit on that? And so she quit piano, which I always thought was actually fine, okay? Because you know what? It was important that she get busy and do something a little bit different with her life, or a little bit less. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about mapping. I'm talking about what you do with a piece before you ever take it to the piano. It is a time-consuming thing. It'll take, depending on the piece, it might take 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or a half an hour. I think it gives us a sort of a little peek into the composer's mind, which, depending on the student and the composer and the piece, can be a very exciting event. It actually does cut down our workload because, I guess you've noticed there's a lot of repetition in our pieces, and we learn about that when we map. It's also the most important step towards memorization. For sure, everything you learn when you're mapping a piece goes into your brain in some respect or another, and that is huge. And of course, maybe the most wonderful thing for the students and for the teachers, it stops mistakes before they start. The incredible teacher, Suzanne Guy, used to say, honey, she says, I tell my students this, honey, I promise you, every note you miss on your first run through, you're going to miss on the spring recital. And she was right. So there are a couple of attempts that I've made to help students do this in the small guide, which is for younger students. We just do it via a 10-step Start Smart. And you can see what this involves. It's 10 steps to help you get to know your piece before you start to practice it. And it's just about, marking the score, doing a note check. If you have notes that are scary in it, you mark them, a sharp or a flat. I'm like a person that if I have a broken leg, I use crutches. So, okay, it's a crutch to write something in your score, but it's a good crutch and it helps you get along. Okay, so then we do some analysis, and remember, this is before you play it. So here's this beautiful little In Church by Tchaikovsky. And even if you know the piece very well, once you map it the way I did some years ago for this, I learned something every time. And one of the really interesting things in this piece is that it's entirely made up in these first 8 measures of root position triads. So for a young person who's just starting out playing chords, it's ideal. And that's what you see underneath. You see the harmonic pattern, E minor, B major, E minor, D major, and so on. I try to keep those things very brief. So just capital letter, small letter, it works well. I put an exclamation point after G because it was different. And because, of course, it sounds so beautiful when you play it. Now, I know the time is short, so I hate to say this, but I'm not going to play them. But then I wouldn't be playing it anyway, would I, if I were mapping it? Because I would not be at the piano yet. All right, so that's harmony. Here's another one. I think it's very important to help the children to take the knowledge that they're accruing through their technical work and their theory and really put it to work. You know, this little isolated bit of the Chopin waltz is horrible looking to a child, I mean, or to an adult or anybody. First of all, they're 4 sharps, which is very unreasonable. And then not only that, but if you look at the 3rd measure, you have a D sharp, which nobody knows what that is, and an E sharp and an F double sharp. Oh, and don't forget, in the left hand, there's a B sharp. This is just insane. So how do you deal with it? Putting aside the left hand for now, I want to see, this is how we look at it. For example, first of all, we look at the first notes of the piece. We notice that it kind of looks like an A major scale. And by the way, those 3 notes are also in the 2nd measure, an octave higher. So I would say to a student doing this, you know, this looks suspiciously like an A major scale. I see it goes from A to A, but there's a wrong note in there. What is the wrong note? And without fail, the person will say G natural. Okay, so all you have is you have an A major scale with a wrong note, and that is kind of funny and it helps them to remember. And then after that, never mind all those sharps and double sharps. This is a chromatic scale. Who doesn't love a chromatic scale? Okay, so I put a bracket on it, I put CH there, and voila, I have a map of my melody in that really, really difficult looking spot. Okay, and then if you think about the structure of a piece, I just put this out to show you what it might look like after you map something. I mean, this is one of those pretty pieces in the lyric preludes by William Gillock. And here again, a student puts his or her knowledge to work here. You can see that there is a G minor scale at the beginning, and that's how I personally mark it, with a lowercase g and an arrow going up. This is a G minor scale going up. There's a note missing, but look at what happens in measure 7. See how I marked it there, G, M-E-L period, because suddenly William is using the melodic minor, which is really interesting and I think great for students who are doing all 3 versions of the scales. Also very important to circle troublesome spots. So for example, in measure 5, don't forget, this is just like measure 1, but not quite. So to circle that difference is very, very helpful and very important. On the 2nd page, you can see where I've marked change because first we repeat measure 1 and 2, but then there's a change. You've got to show where the change is. Everybody knows that in a sonata allegro form, if you're going to have a memory slip, that's where you're going to have it, where the B theme comes back in a different key or leading to a different key. That single note has to be circled. And then, you know, my kids sometimes like to actually take a pencil and cross out all the repetitions. And that's what happened on this page. Okay. And there's a coda. So you mark the change and figure out what's going on in the coda. So again, that's a real, we learn a lot about that piece before even going to the piano. And that's what I really value about it. This is what a student's map might look like. Here's this Bartok evening in the country. And, you know, every one of these maps is different. It certainly indicates what the child is interested in, what he's good at or bad at or whatever. You can see that this kid was really dialed into the rhythm, which is great because he apparently noticed that the theme occurs in more than one rhythmic pattern. As is sort of typical with Bartok. So he put in the counting, not for the whole piece, because he doesn't need that. He put it in where he wants to have it, where he needs it, is fear he might make a mistake. I was thrilled to see that on line 4, at the end of the line, that he circled that measure. Why? Because if you've been around for a while, you know as well as I do that if there's going to be a rhythm error in a piece, it's probably going to occur in the simplest place of all, which would be an empty measure. Either they leave it out, God forbid, or they don't count it, and so it's, of course, too short. I don't know if anybody ever plays them too long, but nobody I know does that. You can see that this student also took quite a bit of time on the artwork. There's the A section, and here's the B section. That's okay. That's what he was into. He also circled all those rests. He probably had a big lecture from me the week before about how he never lifted his hands off the keyboard. So, okay, so we got that. So that's what, you know, a typical map might look like. And then you put these in their hands. These are the practice tips, and you look for different possibilities that would apply to the places they're working on. I know that your time is very special today, and I'm started a little bit late, so I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but you will see some detail later. I've put an arrow here. I've put arrows here on tips that and it turns out my students especially find useful. And you'll see some demonstrations of that as we go along. There are a couple of things I want to explain. All over the world, people practice rhythms, and they practice difficult sections with different rhythms. Very often you'll see them notated, and I decided I was trying to find a way out of notating because I want people to really exaggerate the difference between long and short notes. That is, to sit on that long note as long as you need to plan what's going to happen, and then to go like the wind. Not making it sound like grace notes, but with energy on every single note. So that's why I use just a dash for the long note and then a dot for the short, and then I kind of have to explain that. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, let's see if it says click to exit, so I need to stop the share. All right. Now, what I thought would happen when everybody had these tools in their hands, especially, I was so proud of myself for this, which is the index of the guide to practicing. Why was I so proud of myself? I said, I'm so smart. I said, you know, these kids want to be independent. They want to do their own thing. They're tired of adults telling them what to do. So if I put an index in here, they will make their own assignments and they'll be so proud of themselves. Well, it doesn't really always work that way. And I have to tell you that my friend and your friend, Peter, we have a little thing going. Maybe it's a private joke, but it's going to be a public joke now. So Peter might accept a new student, and he gives him a practice guide. And then with his trusty phone, he takes a picture. And that's the student with this incredible grin like this. And that's very cute, right? And I feel good about it. Peter is just the most wonderful, helpful supporter in this work that I could imagine. But here's what he writes down here. Now, if he would only use it. Okay, it's actually not a joke, as he and I know very well. So I want to tell a story that a friend of mine told me a long time ago, a cellist friend. He said, Nancy, my students have in amazing way improved their practicing recently. I said, Miron, how did you do that? He said, well, it was easy. I said, I told them, I want you to record your practicing every day this week and send me the recording of it. I said, what? I said, wait a minute. How many weeks did it take you to watch that? And he said, who said anything about watching it? So that was his way of handling it, okay? I understood what he was talking about, but I didn't really want to do it exactly that way. So this past year, in September of 23, I started a project that I call practice lessons. And at the beginning of every month, in the first week of the month, I call it a practice lesson. And I tell the students, now, I should tell you, that, so my kids take 75-minute lessons, my adults take 1-hour lessons. So that's the time frame we're talking about. So I tell everybody, okay, next lesson, you're going to practice something. It can be anything you want for me to hear. And for about maybe 30 minutes or 25 minutes, you are going to just simply do what you do at home. And I'm going to be sitting there with my mouth shut. And that's all there is to it. So we started it. Okay, early results. Disastrous. Just terrible. I mean, honestly, I wanted to quit. It was so bad. And I have a story about one of my favorite ones was a very innocent and well-meaning effort. But here's what it was, and you'll appreciate this. So this is a 10-year-old girl. She's a transfer student too. I haven't had her for that long, but she's very together and very conscientious. And so she comes in and she's playing a maybe 20, 21, so I don't know what number it is, a Czerny Germer etude, okay? One of the two pagers. And so she said, well, I'd like to practice my Czerny. I said, great. So she put the metronome on at 52, and she started out with her right hand, and she played the 2 pages of the study perfectly from beginning to end. She put her right hand in her lap and the left hand on the piano, and she played her left hand perfectly, beginning to end. I thought she would never come to the last measure. So I said, wow, that's so impressive. What was your speed yesterday? Thinking she had been using keep track on the metronome. I said, what was your speed yesterday? She said, 52. I said, well, great. What was your speed the day before? She said, 52. Now I'm beginning to get the picture. So I say, okay, what was your speed at the beginning of the week when you started practicing it? And she said, 52. Can you believe it? What a colossal waste of time. And bless her heart that she was able to do that without quitting piano. I mean, I don't know. anyway, that's a sample of the kind of thing I heard. That was probably among the better things I heard. There was lots of playthrough, playing through, screw up, go back, screw up at a different place, go back, etc. You know that story. Not much use of practice tips or sloppy. So the rhythms, for example, were just like da, 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 like why, why bother? Too wide a lens. I don't know if you've noticed this with your students, but they don't know what the meaning of a small portion is, most of them. So they will practice like 8 measures to fix 2 notes. So another way of just like, and by the time they get to the 2 notes, their mind is, attention has wandered and etc. They keep track, they use the trill drill because the trill drill is on their assignment sheet every week. They used backup, not too much more. That was about it. And so I didn't die. I just said, well, I've started this. I have to end it. So we finished out the year and we started another year, and now we're in the 2nd year of this. And I want to show you from the students themselves how it turned out. And they're going to demonstrate some of their practicing, and these are all, they took place in different places, but they're all okay. Now comes my challenge of finding. Okay, so let's see if I can. Let's see, I need to quit out of that, right? Here we go. Play from the start. Okay. So, Leanne, do you see what you should see? Do you see practice lessons?
Yes, I do.
Okay, good. All right. So, these are the questions, of course, among many that I asked myself. And what I want to do is just to start in, and we'll go to, I need to put this in slideshow. Okay. All right. There are several of the tips that are that are psychological, that are sort of tension reducing. And this is one of them. And this could even be that Chernigammer. This is the little girl who did the other thing. So she's going to show you something else now. So let's see if I can get this going for you. So Leanne, this is a little different from mine. I'm looking for the trigger to get this playing.
Okay, let's see.
Because I don't see an arrow on this.
Right. Is this an embedded YouTube video?
These are all videos from my computer. Should we go to a different system? Are these not going to play in this format? This is the the meat and potatoes of the presentation.
Yeah. And Ryan, I know that you're probably in the universe too.
Yes, that's
I'm trying to kind of diagnose, but I know that you're good at this stuff. So please feel free to jump in if you're even more.
Well, sure. I mean, this on the one hand, this doesn't have anything to do with Zoom so much. My guess is if you start the slideshow, it might work a little bit better, but that would be my first shot
Yeah.
at it.
Okay.
Go
And
to play from current slide.
okay, and then okay.
And then, so I think the
It's
video
not
is the
working.
next- There we go.
Yeah. Yeah, but see, the video's not playing. So if you have, unless you have another suggestion, I would like to just get rid of this and go a little bit roundabout to my Google Slides. May I do that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I can also try to pull up your Google slide and present if for some reason it's not working on your side. So
Okay, that would be great.
yeah, feel free to exit out and go to the Google slide version. And I'll pull it up on my end just in case it isn't working on your end.
Now I think I'm gonna do countdown for this measure in the left hand, because that's where I have trouble. So wait. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. And then 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Oh. 1, 2. Wait, I'm gonna redo number 1 because I don't think I'm ready. 1.
Now here's countdown used for something different.
Two, three, 4. 1, 2, 3.
Are you satisfied? Then do that one again.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2. 1, 2. 1.
Now, there's another form of countdown that you use for chord progressions, and you don't see a chord progression here, but you do see broken chords. And so this student is both using opposites attract, which in this case just means he plays the broken chords as block chords and countdown chords.
First time you do it, you play each chord 4 times, and then 3 times, and then 2 times, and then once.
So I'll move along in it.
Bravo.
Okay, and then he used double duty on that same passage. I love this one. Whenever you have two or God forbid, more than 2 melodies in one hand, you have to do something to plant the sound in your ear. So this is an ear strategy, and for that reason, you can use any fingers you want, because what the goal is to play what you consider the main melody absolutely beautifully, right? So, and you may not be able to do that with the fingering that is provided with all your other stuff going on. So you do that, you play with the left hand, the other note, or if it's the right hand, and you get it in your ear, and that's the important thing. This one is not in the practice guide, but there is the reason I put this little thing up on the top, there is on my YouTube channel, there is a double duty video. Here's the demonstration.
We're gonna have the left hand softer and then have the right hand louder while bringing out the top notes. Okay.
Play the left hand double duty, would you? This should explain itself, I think. I get crazy when they don't do rest, so they don't appreciate the silence. Here we go. He's so proud of himself. I don't see the rest action. What does action mean?
Moving.
Moving. I don't see your hand moving when you're doing rest actions. Let's see if I can see it this time. I did. Yeah, do it again. How about here? Do you need to draw the line from the rest to the note?
Oh.
Good. Oops. That didn't work out right, did it? Okay, oh yeah.
Opposite attract.
Oh, you know what? This is strange. Okay, so what we have here.
I used opposite attract.
Okay, I'm sorry, folks. So, something happened here. This is the same Haydn that you saw in the last slide. And okay, so he did opposites attract because that was giving him a lot of trouble. And then he does accents, which is, I was thrilled that he that he chose that, but not for this particular place. You'll see why when you listen. I don't know what's going on, Leanne. Yeah. Okay.
I used opposite attract.
Okay, here we go. Notice he plays this slower because it's harder. Good for you. Now play it normal. What finger will sound louder if you're not careful?
The thumb.
And which finger is repeating a lot?
Thumb.
So you might want to make that lighter.
Okay.
Make the pinky a little stronger on its note. You can see it's kind of a disaster to do accents on that, but he pulled it off, so good for him.
I used opposite attract.
Now, I want to say about this one before I play it that I mentioned earlier that students usually cover way too much real estate when they're doing something like backup or a specific drill. That's why I was so pleased to see this demonstration. I wanted you to hear this piece. You can read my my description. I'm going to play it for you. What? This is what Mrs. Ott used to do. Honey, use a little more sound there, right? And everybody's going around, I feel like my arm's broken. No. Come on. Use a different finger if you want to. You could use that. Yeah. Or use the other one and just put it further in so that, put your finger flat here so that it's really solid. Your little finger is so weak. We have to do something about that. No wonder you can't bring it out. Yeah, right. Go ahead. Finish. So last Christmas, when my two recent graduates were home on vacation, I asked if they would like to talk to me a little bit about their experience practicing while they were in the studio. And one of them said yes, he would. And we had a very long conversation. I edited it down to about 3 minutes here, and I want to play it for you. It was kind of a shock to me, and I think you'll probably figure out why. And then we'll just have a minute to talk about it before we finish.
At the beginning, it was more like some days when I was feeling really dialed in, I would use the practice guide. I would, really think about my practicing, put effort in. And it was really tiring. For sure, because you have to always be thinking like, what am I doing wrong? It's a constant hour and a half of, oh, I think it's my fourth finger that's the problem. Like you're always diagnosing the issues, and this is the best way to practice, right? But then, of course, most days I would sort of come home from school, I'd be kind of tired, and I'd be like, all right, let me just run through, and then it wouldn't really be as effective. But like some days it'd be really good, but most days I would sort of just be on autopilot. Like I didn't even notice this difference as much until actually we started playing the Chopin etudes, and then you started me at the end on the last 2 pages, and then suddenly I can't play the whole thing through because I was working backwards. And so it actually forced me to sort of like, think before I started practicing, where do I start? And there was this sort of slow process of realizing that, the more thinking I do, the better my practice sessions really are. I'm also sort of sad that it took a while, that this is sort of a slow realization, but maybe it does just take a lot of repeated encouragement from you. The default is always just start at the beginning and then play through. But even that little moment of, I don't actually know how to play the beginning yet. Now I have to figure out where to start. That sort of got me in the mood every time I started playing the etude of like, now I'm dialed in. I think it's funny actually. Like a lot of what I notice is like there's just these little moments of getting into it. So once you start, you're good. Like if you start and you're dialed in, you're good and you pay a lot of attention. But if you allow yourself to just play through and you don't have that starting moment, and then your practice session isn't very good. I occasionally did when I was practicing by myself was I would prohibit myself from playing a certain section until I like did the most important work for that piece. And I think this was prompted by something you said in class one time, which was that we were working on a thorny section and you were like, how about at the end, give yourself a treat, play through everything. And then I was like, that makes a lot of sense. Playing through really is sort of a treat. I make sure every time I start a piece, I start at the thorny section. Everything just feels so much better when I play everything through. The more time I spent with you in class, the more I was able to sort of understand your mindset, not just the techniques. Like in class when you would give some comments and I'd be like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. This was sort of a mindset shift of how should I think about practicing? How should I think about prioritizing my time? Like, should I think about prioritizing my time? And I guess sort of over the years that slowly like made itself clear to me. It requires a lot of intentionality to really think about, my goal is this, how do I get there?
So here's what I want to say. Nathan was a really good student. I had no complaints about him. In fact, he and his duet partner actually won MTNA a couple of years ago. So it's not like this is some kind of slacker. And for him to say that he usually just plays through it, I was like, oh my God. On the other hand, he had a lot of other information. Mainly what I learned from this, what Nathan is saying to me is it takes time. You do have to keep repeating. I'm not going to pick it up on my own necessarily. And I may not even pick it up from you for a while. Here's what some of the children said, whose videos you saw and whose videos you didn't see. One person said, I asked them, what do you think about these practice lessons? What has it done or not done for you? One of them said, I've become more aware of what I'm doing. Another one said, I don't play through anymore. Another one said, I use more practice tips. One I use every day is countdown. I think that drastically helped. Another comment, after practice lessons, I didn't really pray it through. I just focused on things that are wrong. And then this is kind of cute. Every time I mess up, it's like playing a video game, like playing Mario. It's a progress thing. You count your mistakes, then you go back, you try to think of new ways to solve the problem, and then I think that makes it more fun. Wow. And then finally, I just want to quote one of my old children, Greta, the 16-year-old, who said, before I hated to practice, especially if somebody told me to practice. Lately, I've been finding that I just like playing. I enjoy playing through things and also working them out. I always felt I had to do more. Now, nobody tells me. I just feel like I want to. 16 years old. So folks, there's hope. And I thank you for sitting with me through this little trip. And I welcome your questions if you would like.
Thank you so much, Nancy. That was really helpful. I know that there has been a few questions in the chat, so I'll let those people pipe up.
Yeah, first, can we have Katie with her question?
Hi. Sorry, I have to remember what my question was.
You
Oh,
were asking, yeah,
yeah,
go ahead, go ahead.
I found it. When you do mapping, do you map the whole piece before ever touching the piano, or do you map it in
No,
parts?
not necessarily. I mean, certainly not if it's a long piece. So let's say it's a sonata allegro. I'll say, okay, we'll start with the exposition or the recap, whichever or the development, whichever one I want to start with. And if it's a long section, even then, it might be only a part. In which case, I tell them, never mind the structure of it. What you're looking for is the harmony, the melody, and so on. Just tell me everything you can find out about this piece of music.
Yeah. Okay, great. And then with students that are really, really beginning, do you do that with them too?
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear you.
With students that are very beginning, like they
Students
might.
that, oh, absolutely. I could have shown you their maps are hilarious. Yeah, yeah.
Great.
Oh, absolutely. I have a wonderful little video of a kid who, I ran out of time in the lesson. I'm sure that never happens to you. So I said he'd had a couple of lessons with me, and we'd talked about the mapping. And I said, okay, so we have to finish now, but I want you to map this piece this week and bring it back to me. And it's just hilarious to see it. He'll go, well, this stuff over here is not really like that stuff. So that's an A and that's a B, but this stuff here, I don't know, it's higher up. And you know what? Everything he said really made sense. So yeah, they have different ways of expressing it. And it's kind of like the boy who did the accents. I don't say, I wish you hadn't used this tip, or I wish you didn't call it this stuff. Whatever they bring is dessert to me.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Katie. And then Jason?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these concepts are great for building on top of each other. And I was wondering if you have any suggestions on how to incrementally introduce them to your students, and if there's a set progression or foundation that you want to build.
Oh, is there a progression? Well, that's an interesting question. Get this, I never thought about that. So there isn't a progression in a way, except that there are basics that I cover from the get-go. I mean, the trill drill is one of them. All because nobody can play a trill, we all say, but if you give that to them, even from a beginning stage, and that is laid out in detail it's in the practice guide, but it's also in here in more detail. So I urge you to look at it. It's a great. I think it's the best thing I ever did in my whole career, was making up that particular exercise. So that's foundational. And the business of the backup is foundational and the mapping and so on and so forth. For the rest of it, there are things like the very simple ones that kids love to do. Actually, button up is something I do with beginners, where instead of saying, play this 10 times, you say, okay, take 6 pennies and put them on the chair next to you. And listen, I hate to tell you this, I do this myself. I love it. So you put your pennies here, and when you play it perfectly, they're in a row here, and you slide the penny over to this row. And then you do it perfectly again, and you slide this penny. It's ridiculous. But little games like that, yes, absolutely, I do. And then baby steps, play the same thing da-da-dum, 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 on every note instead of 8 times on the same note. That sort of thing really works well with young children. You have to decide yourself, and then prescribe as you wish.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from anyone?
Okay, great. That was super informative and lots of great ideas there. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with us, Nancy, this morning.
Thank you for having me. I wish I were with you in person. Have a
Oh,
great day and
yeah,
weekend.
you too. Thank you so much. All right, I think our meeting's over. So it's great to see you guys. Hope to see you at some of the coming up social events, and have a lovely weekend.
You too.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.